Okay, now we are in the Esoteric booth. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming to our booth.
Now we can see the full system of Gradioso amplifier and preamplifier and even a turntable as well. Could you tell us about the Gradioso system? Gradioso system?
Okay, Gradioso system is our absolute top range of the product and consists of each product category's top end model. And it's got a very special audio technology inside, and also leading technology starts from the Gradioso, and then we put the same technology to go to our standard product range. So it's our iconic flagship model.
Maybe a few months ago, you did launch a brand new turntable as well. It runs by a magnetized motor, right? Can you please tell us more about the turntable as well?
Okay. Last year, 2022, was our 35th anniversary year. And to celebrate this special year, we introduced our first analog turntable, Gradioso T1. And we took nearly 4 years to develop this product. And this one uses Esoteric magnet drive system, which is a non-contact turntable drive system, completely different from conventional bed drive or direct drive or the gear drive, like a rim drive, like a Glad. But this one is totally different. There is no contact between the platter and motor. So the motor's vibration does not transfer to the platter. So this system is absolutely silent. And this is a patented technology. And we applied for the patent 5 years ago. And the product development took nearly 4 years. So just last year, we have successfully introduced this turntable. And we believe that Gradioso T1 is one of the most innovative products recently produced in this industry. So because this one uses a magnetic induction-based drive system, and also to keep the constant speed, we use the clock generator to put in our analog technology. Everybody thinks that it is a little bit weird that this analog turntable needs a clock system. But we use the clock generator to keep the very constant, very stable speed of the motor. Because the motor is driven with the triple phase sine wave. And in order to keep the constant speed, we need a very precise sine wave. And changing the curve of the sine wave, this turntable system changes its speed for the 33 RPM and 45 RPM, different sine waves angle, and keep this very precise sine wave. We use the clock generator, and this is very precise technology, and it's coming from our CD player technology.
And on the preamplifier and the power amplifier side, that you're using a really special connection between them.
Yes. Right? Yes. Between the C1X Solo, this is also a new product, preamp, and S1X, this is a Class A 50-watt amplifier. And between these two components, we use ES-Link analog signal transmission, which is a proprietary current signal transmission. And this is very special because it is based on conventionally the line connection uses voltage voltage level to conduct a signal, but this one uses a current signal. And the current signal is very unique. No matter how long you run the cable, the signal is always consistent from the output side and input side. For example, connecting the cable from Munich to like
Maybe
Tokyo, for
Tokyo,
example.
yeah.
For example, use a very small level signal like a AAA battery, and connect from Munich to Tokyo. And when you measure the voltage at Munich is 3 volt, but in Japan there is totally no voltage because the cable impedance reduces the level of the voltage. But the current level, if you measure the current level at the Munich and Tokyo will be same because there is no impedance. Impedance does not affect. So as long as the cable is connected, the value is always the same. So this means between the preamplifier and power amplifier, the signal will not be lost. So it is very high fidelity signal transmission system.
Starting with the 01 series and Esoteric launching the maybe 4 or 5 types of series like 03, 05, and 07. Could you tell us some kind of explanation about the series as well?
Okay. Basically, we use our own drive system, VRDS. And the VRDS SACD transport now is a second generation, which is a VRDS Atlas drive. And we have a different model lines in our program, but all our SACD player uses the VRDS Atlas turntable. Of course, the grade of slightly different per model, but the basic concept is the same. So our unique SACD player, the unique feature of our SACD player is VRDS Atlas transport. And also, all the models uses our master sound discrete clock, which is our own design, discrete component DA converter with our own FPGA program. And this programming is the same across the all models.
Oh, really?
From the 01 to the bottom 05, all the FPGA program is the same. But the difference is the number of the circuit and the selection of the component. For example, the K05XD, our newest model, uses 2 DACs per channel, and the circuit component is 16 elements, 16 registers is used to drive the circuit. But the 03 and 01 and K1X, these 3 models uses 4 DACs per channel. So the circuit, the scale of the circuit is doubled for the upper range model. And each model has a different part selection to get the different quality level sound. But everything, all the model uses our discrete DAC is shared with all range.
All the same FPGA setups, right?
Yes. But the different grade components and selection of the parts.
Finally, could you leave us some comments for your Korean fans as well?
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm marketing of Esoteric, and we are very happy that you are actually enjoying our product in Korea. And thank you very much, and enjoy the music. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the great interview. That's it for today.
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。